Hello, my beautiful doves. My name is Mina, and I talk about fashion, media, and the culture. And today, actually, we're going to be chatting about furniture and how bad most furniture on the market is. And when I say bad, I mean not only ugly, but also low quality. So bad just all around. And I was inspired to make this video because one, this is more of an announcement, but I am going to be moving out of New York at the end of this year, which may sound like a surprise because I feel like I've mostly talked about New York pretty fondly in the past. I do love New York and I think it's very fun and it's a great place to live in your 20s especially. But I've just been kind of struggling mentally to live here basically ever since I moved. I find the city very overstimulating and chaotic, and living here is always compared to being in a rat race, which is kind of true because we all work so much and it's completely normalized to always be hustling. I feel like every time I meet people, the only things we ever talk about is work, and I just find it really tiring. I want to be in an environment where there's a lot of nature. I want to touch grass quite literally, and I just want to be a little bit more relaxed at this point in my life. I also feel like I would have left New York honestly a couple years ago, and the only reason that I stayed was because I was in my acting school, which was a 2-year program, and that was a reason for me to be here, obviously because it was in person. But since finishing that, I just feel like I have even less of a tether to be in New York City. Despite saying all that, I feel like people in my industry always end up shifting in and out of New York. I'm probably going to come back for fashion weeks and whatever. So it's not goodbye forever. But I'm excited for a new, more peaceful environment, as I said. I think New York for me is just better in doses. So obviously my boyfriend and I have been having the furniture convo, mostly what are we going to take with us when we move and what are we going to have to give away and therefore replace. I'm not that emotionally attached to the furniture that we currently have. The majority of it was bought secondhand from Facebook Marketplace. It was all pretty cheap. There's no heirlooms in my house, I don't think. Also, moving big furniture is really expensive, so moving everything would probably cost more than what I actually spent buying the things themselves. But the other side of this is shopping for new furniture can be one of the most frustrating activities ever. For reference, I shop all big furniture on the secondhand marketplace, as I said, but if I don't have a dining table or bed or a couch, realistically, I'm not gonna wait months for the best one or one that I love so much to maybe come up on Facebook Marketplace. I'm not gonna be sitting on the floor for months, So I'd probably have to end up buying something that's just okay for the convenience of it. The other option is, of course, to buy new, which unless I'm planning to spend $10,000 on a new couch, which is not in the plan right now, whatever is new is probably going to be really ugly. So these were all the thoughts congealing in my head, and then I recently read Caitlin Dewey's Substack essay on the origins of her lamp, which felt so relatable. The gist of the essay is that in 2022, she purchased a lamp called the Evelyn and Zoe, listed on Walmart's website for $86. But she also saw an identical product on Macy's.com that currently sells under the brand name Hudson and Canal and costed $189. This similar lamp appeared on Nordstrom Rack under the brand Addison and Lane, on Home Square under Hen and Hart, and on Bed Bath & Beyond under Heath and Cliff. Today, we're going to be exploring why the same product seems to be listed on all the major retailers for different prices and under different names, the Amazonification of it all, why affordable modern furniture is the way that it is, and tips on how to source the best quality furniture in these dark, dire times. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by Liquid IV, which is a powdered hydration brand that I was actually first introduced to a couple months ago. I got this recommendation because I'm someone who's usually out and about, especially in the summertime, and it's difficult for me to remember to stay hydrated, and then I'm croaking like a frog before I know it. Liquid IV actually updated their packaging, which is great. This is the old packaging because now the flavor is front and center and easy to identify, especially for me, because I feel like whenever I go shopping at the supermarket, I am operating on 2 brain cells. As I've said before, this is gonna be my last summer in New York for a while, which is sad. So I'm planning to do everything humanly possible: the beach, the club, the park, maybe some concerts. So I'm definitely stocking up, getting my electrolytes in, and taking care of my body. As you can see, this stuff is more hydrating than water, and it contains no artificial colors or sweeteners, so love that. New customers can use my discount code MINALIFE for 20% off your order. So going back to Caitlin Dewey's Substack essay, she reached out to Jungle Scout for answers. Jungle Scout provides market intelligence and analytics to third-party sellers, and they confirmed that all the lamps that she showed them were made by the same company, Dongguan Jiahui Lighting Co. Limited in Guangdong, China. The import records show that most of the company's US-destined products are brought in by a Florida company called Hudson and Canal. Hudson and Canal then sells these items sometimes under their own name and sometimes under different brand names like Camden & Wells and Haley Home. But Dewey theorizes that all the lamps sit in the same warehouses until they're shipped out. The items listed, like Caitlin's lamp, are called white label products. White label products are items that are manufactured by one company but then packaged and sold by another company. Michael Sheshuk, former chief marketing officer at Jungle Scout, explains, sometimes it's literally the same product across multiple different sites. In general, they'll put a new brand name on it and each of the retailers differentiate based on factors like service. George John, a marketing professor at the University of Minnesota, also noted a technique called branded variants, in which furniture and home goods industries create slightly different versions of the same item for different retailers. Another term to describe this model of retailers selling third-party products is drop shipping. The first time I heard of drop shipping, I think it was used to describe individual entrepreneurs. These entrepreneurs would find a product listed on Chinese marketplaces like AliExpress or Temu, and they then would list these products on their own pages, marked up of course, to unsuspecting Western buyers. When they receive an order, they go onto AliExpress or wherever, purchase the item themselves, put in the buyer's address, and wipe their hands of the situation with a nice markup profit. They are essentially middlemen, so they don't ship or store any of the products themselves. And nowadays, you can find dropshippers just about everywhere, like on Instagram, on Etsy, and on Wayfair. In 2020, Wired ran a pretty crazy story on dropshipping. There's an interview with Phil Loudon, a partner in a dropshipping business, who explains that the best dropshippers will run funnels, which means they repeatedly target the same consumers over a period of time in order to coax them through the various stages of purchase: add to cart, enter cart details, checkout. Dropshipping is actually not an ideal business model though, despite what the dropshipping gurus will tell you.
If you're in your 20s or 30s and you're not making at least $10,000 a month, watch this.
Because you are responsible for all the manufacturing issues that cause delays, but you actually have no control over the manufacturing, and so you're kind of just screwed if there are issues. For example, a former dropshipper, Ellie, told Wired that she and her partners tried selling plastic-free homeware, receiving $10,000 worth of orders per day, which their supplier couldn't keep up with. The supplier eventually gave up and stopped shipping out orders, and Ellie's inbox ended up filling up with furious emails, complaints about products not arriving and or products of poor quality that were just, made in a rush. She ended up having to get a loan to make up for the loss. So I used to use Depop a lot, prior to the pandemic, and I would always run into dropshippers on the app masquerading as small designers or ethical small businesses. I do think it's a shady business model that you're upcharging something that you didn't make yourself because you can get away with it.
You can't keep getting away with it!
But what bothered me was that a lot of dropshippers made it seem like they actually made the product. I think if they were just clearer and they were like, we are middlemen, then yeah, depending on how much the item was, maybe I would pay for the convenience fee of it all. But it's the fact that they sometimes masquerade as if they themselves are the ones designing and making the product. Since March 2020, Depop has technically banned dropshipping, though I don't know how strictly that ban is enforced. Serena Smith wrote an article about Depop dropshipping for Refinery 29 back in 2021 and interviewed a user named Maddie who once bought a Voting is Hot t-shirt off a Depop seller for $34.51, only to find the same item listed on AliExpress for $3.64. She tells Smith, "I figured this out when I looked up the original brand. The design is from independent business Denim Craddock and found replicas on AliExpress. It was cleverly done because the Depop listing I bought from did not specify a certain brand." What's also crazy is that actual small designers that sell on Depop would get their products ripped off on AliExpress and then see those ripoffs resold on Depop through drop shippers in this kind of messed up fast fashion stealing cycle. So for instance, this designer Jasmine, who runs Jazzy Jarms, once had her butterfly reflective flare pants get ripped off on AliExpress. Then a few weeks later, Jasmine started seeing Depop dropshippers sell the AliExpress version of her trousers priced on her shop at $101.79 for as little as $22.43. Even more audaciously, Jasmine said that when she messaged the sellers to ask them to take down their listings, they basically didn't care at all. They were like, "You should have copyrighted the design. It's not my fault your design got copied." And they just didn't take it down. There are dropshippers out there who explicitly steal designs too. So on AliExpress, you can actually post a picture of an item that you like, and suppliers can then contact you and offer to make you a dupe. Again, I haven't regularly used Depop in a long time, so I'm not sure how much they've cracked down in recent years, but I do use Etsy pretty often because they have a lot of true vintage and antique listings. But the amount of dropshippers on there is honestly kind of baffling and even more offensive to me personally than the dropshippers on Amazon, because sites like Depop and Etsy are about prioritizing more ethical and sustainable consumption. Or at least they should be prioritizing that. So for instance, the Washington Post interviewed Abby Misspin, whose sequin cowboy hat design went viral after Beyonce wore one on a poster for her Renaissance tour. Misspin sells on Etsy, and post Beyonce, she discovered that dozens of other Etsy shops were drop shipping her designs from AliExpress and Alibaba. She reported to Etsy corporate, and rather than taking down all the shops, the company instead urged her to file for a copyright. But Misspin said that filing for copyrights was a daunting task for small designers like herself with no legal representation, and it's also a costly process. Similarly, Amazon has gotten into plenty of controversy for being inadequate with taking down counterfeit goods on their platform.
What I can tell you is that we have a counterfeit crimes unit. We attempt to prosecute counterfeiters. I would
Ian Bogost wrote for The Atlantic in 2019 about the sketchy, kind of inconsistent deals you could find on Amazon for branded products. He mentions Adidas Samba shoes as an example, which were available for $72.95 in a men's size 9 without Prime shipping, but for $57.58 in a size 12 with Prime 2-day delivery. This happens because, again, Amazon is a marketplace for third-party sellers, so it's easier for counterfeit goods to end up on the website. That doesn't mean brands are happy, though. In 2017, the chief executive of Birkenstock accused Amazon of modern-day piracy for allowing counterfeit versions of his company's shoes to be sold on its site. Eventually, he yanked his brand from Amazon altogether.
It went against every mandate that we have of good brand management and connecting with our consumers and giving our consumers the experience that we believe as brand fans they should have.
And a year later, a family sued Amazon in Tennessee because they said they bought a hoverboard on the website that they say was counterfeit, which they say started a fire that burned down their home. Similar to on Depop and Etsy, Amazon has also had cases of third-party sellers duping small brands. Helena Steele, for example, founder of the kitchen apparel company Jessie Steele, told The Atlantic that she had to stop selling her products on Amazon in 2014 after 6 years of using the platform. But still, for a while after, third-party sellers were selling unofficial Jessie Steele designs on the platform. At the time of the interview in 2018, she said that her sales had gone from around $5 million a year to around $500,000 a year because of competition from businesses copying her products and selling them under her name brand. Similar to Etsy, sellers can't attack the company itself. Their only recourse is to try to sue the third-party seller. This is partly because of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, in which Congress gave companies that provide online services safe harbor immunity from copyright infringement liability for their users' actions. It's also unclear how much Amazon corporate even cares, considering that for several years, the company has been holding annual events in China for prospective sellers, pitching the site as a lucrative way to make money. I want to be clear, though, that there are plenty of ethical businesses in China, and that just because a company is based there does not mean they're related to a sweatshop. However, I do think it's interesting that CNBC's report implies that Amazon has been trying to appeal to current Shein and Temu merchants. Shein and Temu, of course, being the central hubs of fast fashion, fast homeware, fast furniture, fast everything. Most of these third-party sellers based in China are identifiable on Amazon by their brand names that are just random strings of capital letters. A lot of the times, the product photos will be tasteless, stock-looking photos that are shared between several different brands, and many products will be described in SEO terms. As an example, when I searched for a water bottle on Amazon, I found this listing on the first page of results. BJ PK 40-ounce stainless steel insulated water bottle with 3 lids, Sakura, BPA-free, leak-proof thermos bottle for sports and gym. Like, what happened to just naming products something easy like the Jeremy 2000? So I found this video by Tech Quickie that breaks down why these companies are named like alphabet soup. But in some, it's quicker for companies to register for a trademark this way because it's unlikely that there would be a conflict. Like, no other company would also be named BJPKPK. And why do they all want a trademark? Because a company needs to have a registered trademark to qualify for Amazon's brand registry program. This program provides sellers with benefits like reduced fees, cash back, and marketing and advertising support. The other problem, though, is that with the proliferation of all these alphabet soup sellers and with how they're all paying to get their ads listed first in the search results, it makes it difficult for smaller, more sustainable sellers to get attention. As John Herman writes for New York Magazine, clawing your way to relevance on Amazon's platform often involves spending a great deal of money on advertising with the company. It's how new products get reviews, which are crucial to selling anything on Amazon, and it's how established products maintain relevance. It's also why 29 of those 81 spatula options are functionally ads. Speaking of reviews, in 2022, Wired published an expose on an underground scam run by some third-party Amazon sellers who were paying users to leave 5-star reviews for their products. Many of these scams operate through Facebook. So for one example, an interviewee talked about seeing an ad on the platform offering a free $300 value robot vacuum in exchange for a 5-star review. That's the garbage truck. Carrying all the bad stuff on Amazon that only lasts like one use. An Amazon spokesperson told Wired they were committed to investigating fake reviews, and the company even filed a lawsuit against more than 10,000 Facebook groups that same year. Facebook groups that were trying to get people to write these reviews. But in the same way that it's hard to control counterfeiting online, it's also hard to prevent these scams from completely disappearing. So, late last year, the Federal Trade Commission actually filed a complaint against Amazon in efforts to tackle some of the company's issues. For one, the FTC is calling them out for their allegedly purposefully junky search engine. An example in the complaint cites that when a customer searches for a Seahawks t-shirt, ads for LA Lakers t-shirts would show up in the results. That's a tamer example unless you're a big Seahawks fan and get easily activated by other sports merchandise. But another example is that apparently when customers searched for water bottles, things like buck urine would show up in the first sponsored product slot. These irrelevant junk ads are called defects internally in the company, and according to the complaint, Mr. Bezos instructed his executives to accept more defects because Amazon can extract billions of dollars through increased advertising despite worsening its services for customers. The complaint also noted that Amazon allegedly punishes its sellers for discounting their product prices on other sites. So, when this scathing read, aka official FTC complaint, first went public, Amazon scrambled to send out emails to its sellers denying the allegations that it had unfairly overcharged them in fees and saying that the lawsuit does not change anything about our relationship. I'm obviously excited to see what happens and whether or not, Amazon will get a slap on the wrist or if they'll actually change anything about their website. But the trial date has been set for October 2026. For now, we'll just have to keep dealing with alphabet soup SEOEs on the website. So maybe it's unsurprising that despite the prevalence of online shopping going up and the subsequent closing of physical retail spaces like malls, data collected by Consumer Affairs actually shows that customer satisfaction has been steadily declining since 2011. The data collected included 76,119 posts on social media and product review websites published between January 2011 and August 2022. To bring this all back to furniture, falling consumer sentiment was particularly pronounced for 6 of the largest furniture brands: Ashley Furniture, West Elm, Pottery Barn, and IKEA, plus the third-party marketplaces Wayfair and Overstock. Collectively, their reviews on Trustpilot fell from 79% positive in 2011 to 25% in 2017 to 9% in 2022. Now I want to revisit what I mean when I say all furniture is the same kind of ugly. Prior to the 21st century, most furniture that was available in America to buy was also made in America. But in 1999, the United States signed a trade agreement with China, which basically increased trade between the two countries. And wages in China are a lot cheaper than wages in America. And because wages were cheaper, Chinese companies could actually import US lumber to make their own furniture and ship that furniture back to the US, and it would still cost less than the total material costs that US companies paid to make their own furniture. The result was that a lot of American manufacturers shut down their plants and basically converted into import offices. During one 4-year stretch in the early 2000s, according to former furniture executive Michael K. Dugan's 2009 book, The Furniture Wars, over 230 U.S. furniture factories closed, putting 55,800 people out of work. Within 7 years, Chinese companies accounted for over 60% of the U.S. furniture market. This is a far cry from just 6 decades before, when American companies were sending hundreds of thousands of identical items down production lines and out by truck and train car to department stores and furniture outlets across the country. Matt Hartman wrote about the furniture business for The Assembly North Carolina and interviewed Alex Schuford III, who currently runs his family's furniture business, Century Furniture, a business that actually started in the 1940s. Schuford said that in the early days, the entire production of the factory's output for many months would be pre-sold. Another interesting thing I learned is that the design style known as mid-century modern was actually relatively affordable in the mid-century. These pieces, like George Nelson's 1946 platform bench, were created to be mass-produced in order to be affordable to the average homeowner. Nelson himself championed the idea that good design could change lives for everyone, not just the rich. Similarly, design couple Charles and Ray Eames once stated their ideology: getting the most of the best to the greatest number of people for the least amount of money. As part of being accessible, the Eameses and other mid-century modern designers experimented with new, cheaper materials like plastic and wire mesh. The couple's molded plastic and fiberglass armchair was actually created for MoMA's international competition for low-cost furniture design in 1948, which was motivated by efforts to make affordable furniture for the post-war period. It's actually really hard to find out the original price of the fiberglass chairs. This info has been scrubbed from the internet for some reason. But in this old 1997 book I found called The Work of Charles and Ray Eames, A Legacy of Invention, it says that in 1952, their fiberglass chairs were sold for a starting price of $30, which is about $347 in today's money. The Eames office still sells the same design, though apparently with more eco-friendly fiberglass, for a starting price of $645, which is basically double what it was being sold for back in the day. As Madeline Morley writes for another magazine, ironically, for a movement that prided itself on its accessibility, many of the prices now come with steep price tags. Eames' molded plywood folding screen is worth over $10,000, for example, and George Nelson's playful marshmallow sofa recently sold for a modern, mind-boggling $66,000. So I wanted to share that little aside because it is possible to make nicely designed furniture, like pretty furniture, at an affordable price range, but people just don't do it anymore. But back to this new reliance on Chinese furniture production in the 2000s. Obviously, consumers benefited at first because the price of furniture plummeted. But the catch was, over time, furniture quality also went downhill. In the mid-20th century, affordable furniture was mostly made of American plywood, basically thin layers of wood glued together. But today, most of what's on the market consists of Chinese-made pressboard and plywood. Even pieces marketed as solid wood might actually be rubber wood with glued-on veneer. And this is all to reduce costs even further. Rubber wood, for example, is less expensive than most other lumber because it's a byproduct of latex manufacturing. But the downside is that it's much more prone to decay. Furniture designer Coco Lemery has told the Washington Post that designing for major retailers was soul-crushing. She said that when she tried to design pieces that cost more to make, her employees would take them out of production quickly. Meanwhile, her most successful products were always the cheapest to produce. Also, because most furniture is now made overseas, in an attempt to save even more on cost, most furniture that you buy gets separated into parts that you then have to assemble yourself at home. Christopher Mims, author of Arriving Today, From Factory to Front Door, explains every inch and every pound counts when you're shipping things. So if you're trying to transport a container filled with disassembled desks, reducing the thickness of each package by just a fraction of an inch can amount to squeezing in dozens more of them. This is just another reason why lighter, thinner materials like pressboard are prioritized in furniture making because they're not only cheap, they're also the easiest to use when it comes to creating assembly furniture. But this affects design as well. As Lemery says, it's very hard to design something that can disassemble and assemble and have the same level of longevity that a fully assembled piece can have. The situation is basically fast fashion, but with furniture. Fast furniture. And the waste is also massive. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that nearly 10 million tons of furniture ended up in landfills in 2018. Nowadays, there are much fewer domestic furniture companies still in operation. Even Ashley Furniture, which is the largest domestic furniture manufacturer in the US, opened manufacturing facilities across China and Southeast Asia starting in the 1980s to help maintain their relatively affordable price point. For most domestic companies in existence, they've had to become specialist high-end furniture makers. For example, Rock House Farm shifted towards upholstered furniture like sofas because it is a customized special order business. Century now sells chairs for thousands of dollars a piece and beds for over $10,000. So basically, there's a very small industry that still exists that offers like middle range furniture that's still good quality, that will last a while, but is not high end, but is also not like cheap and will break down. And I think honestly, part of the reason why this like middle range is squeezed so much is because there's not a lot of education, in part because of what furniture businesses are trying to tout. But there's not a lot of education on how to actually look for good furniture or why good furniture is a good investment purchase.
Ooh, what fine detail! Beautiful workmanship! Beautiful workmanship! What a gorgeous chair!
So for this last bit, I want to talk about how to find good furniture, or at least better furniture amongst all the shit that exists online. For one, just like with clothes, expensive does not always mean high quality. If any of you were online during Sabrina Carpenter's birthday dress discourse that happened on TikTok. Okay, so basically the yellow dress that Sabrina Carpenter wore for her birthday celebration was sourced from Depop, and the Depop seller got on TikTok to talk about it.
This is actually insane. I've only been doing Depop seriously for around a year, and I've already gotten the opportunity to style Sabrina Carpenter.
However, because the internet is the internet, people dug into her Depop store and found her stuff to be super overpriced. For example, there was a pair of Forever 21 leopard print sequin shorts that were listed, I think, for like over $280, when those same exact shorts were listed on other resale platforms for like $5. On top of the fact that these shorts were made by fast fashion mogul Forever 21, and so probably had like an original price of $10.
Price is firm. If you don't want to purchase due to price, do not message me to complain, as I will just block you. Price reflects what I paid.
So yeah, basically high price does not always equal high quality. CBS New York actually interviewed a couple, Lorena and Vashida, about their $4,000 couch, which is a price that I would assume means good quality, as I think most of us would. However, Vashida said, "We've had it 4 or 5 years, but I feel like in 2 years it will be gone. The cushion will be flat, the whole base of the couch will sink again." The Wall Street Journal interviewed other people about their expensive, eroding furniture purchases with brand receipts, so we love that. One couple, Ashley and Colin Lappin, bought a $3,136 Elliott leather sofa on sale for $2,038 from direct-to-consumer brand Joybird in 2020. In just a few months, a half dozen buttons had popped off the tufting, discolored splotches appeared on the fabric, and the bottom cushions would slide 6 inches forward whenever someone sat down. So also, I think in these cases, when a piece of furniture that is clearly like an expensive piece of furniture, like I would say that a $4,000 couch should equal like a pretty good couch. I mean, I don't know my couch is like that, but I think it should be decent. Like it might not last like 50 years, but it should be decent because there are all these retailers that are selling like just badly made couches at this price range. It makes people even less willing to say, I'm going to invest in a good couch that's at this price point because who knows if it would last as long or longer than a couch that I bought for like $500 off of Wayfair. So what should you buy? What should I buy? Buying something that comes fully assembled is a good sign. Furniture designer Michael Brotman told the Washington Post that a piece made out of solid wood that you've heard of, such as walnut, oak, or cherry, will almost certainly endure for the long haul. Materials do matter a lot, like with clothes, but unfortunately when it comes to woods and leathers, I'm still speaking about couches here, there's a lot of dishonest marketing. Jeff Boyer, who owns Creative Colors International, a company that restores around 100 sofas a year, says the most common complaints he hears are about flaking leather, fractured frames, and pancaked cushions. Boyer mentions that the genuine leather that these mass production companies will brag about isn't a single skin like expected, but actually a slurry of ground-up slaughterhouse scraps that are held together with binders and glues, meaning it's just less durable. For an actually durable, good quality leather couch, he suggests that buyers look for top grain cowhide, which may darken from skin oils over time, but won't flake and won't fall apart. When it comes to wood, newer couches tend to use particle board or medium density fiberboard, aka MDF, which are essentially compressed wood chips mixed with glue. Andy Buck, professor of furniture design, says that fiberboard doesn't hold a screw, and over time it's very difficult to repair, especially if it gets wet. I came across a blog by interior designer Alyssa Hackinson who talks super in depth about good furniture design. I highly recommend reading her entire post if you want more details because I'm only going to summarize some of the important bits. But according to her, the benefit of solid wood is also that even if there's wear and tear over time, wood can almost always be repaired or refinished, which increases the longevity of the item. And then also, obviously, it matters how something was constructed. So to check the durability of a couch frame, for instance, you should look underneath it. And if you're able to see the wood pieces interconnected with one another via mortise and tenon joinery, then it's a pretty solid couch. More brittle couches will have connections with an external bracket. And then the tried and true method of wiggling the arms and backrest is also a helpful test for stability. When it comes to cushioning, a common material known as low-density foam doesn't hold shape well and inevitably needs to be replaced every couple of years. Hackinson writes, some foam is great and some foam is not, and there is no way the company is sharing what they're using in the product description. Great. But you can bet your bottom dollar that if a sofa is shockingly cheap, the foam is one place where they cut costs. Lower quality foam either breaks down more quickly or is incredibly firm to avoid that issue. If you've had a sofa that sagged after relatively little use, this is the culprit. Luxury sofas also tend to have hand-tied springs, while lower-end sofas tend not to have springs at all and instead have webbing, which can still be comfortable, but will break down quicker. And like with clothing, furniture is made of fabric, and lower quality fabric will pill or stretch. The thing with furniture is that, like clothing again, there are trends, and many furniture designers will try to copy said trends, which makes it even harder for us consumers to discern whether two bookshelves that look the same can be justified by massively different price points. Also, the fact that there's so many third-party sellers selling literally the same products under different brand names doesn't help either. Hackinson does a case study comparing 3 almost identical bookshelves, one from Rejuvenation Holgate listed at $933 and one by CB2 listed for $349 and one sold on Wayfair for $183. But she explains the price differences. The Rejuvenation Holgate one has shelves made of solid wood, steel rails, and brackets that are routed into the wood. The CB2 shelves are made with lacquered engineered wood, powder-coated aluminum rails, and shelves that have notches cut into them for the rails to pass through. Basically, the CB2 shelves used lower quality materials and a cheaper method of connecting the rails to the wood. The Wayfair shelves are made with MDF, and product reviews say that the laminate pulled away relatively quickly and that the whole shelf was wobbly, which means the rail connections were poorly done. Hackinson also says that in general, there's a big difference between low to mid-range furniture, but the mid to high range is less noticeable. The Rejuvenation Holgate shelves are better made, which is why they're priced in the 900s, but the CB2 ones would still hold up for a while.
You can find them at the market. We talking about flea market.
So I always advocate against buying fast furniture, not just because people are treated poorly in those factories, not only because most of the furniture is actually really ugly, but because it ends up costing as much over time in replacements as it would probably to just like invest in a nice couch that could last 100 years with some repairs every few decades. But obviously understand, and also am not in a position myself where I'd throw down $10,000 on a couch. So this is why I mostly shop secondhand and hope that a $10,000 couch just happens to come to me for less than $1,000, which has actually happened before. 3 apartments ago, my roommate and I found this beautiful like green velvet 1960s serpentine couch for $300 with free shipping. So we had to buy it, even though it didn't actually fit in our apartment. So we had to like de-segment the couch, which was not the best interior design in hindsight. Like I feel like our apartment probably looked not as nice as it could have because of how big that couch was. But a steal's a steal. A win is a win. Anyways, because I am currently in New York, for smaller stuff, I use Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and then I either rent a car to pick it up or more realistically, wait for my mom to visit me so we can use her car. And then for bigger stuff, I've used Kayo and Apartment Deco, which offer delivery service. I don't love online shopping for furniture though, because I feel like, especially for beds and couches and chairs, you have to test them out before you buy them. There's literally nothing worse than a lumpy couch. I guess if you buy things new on sites like Wayfair, you can technically return them. But also if you're living in an apartment building, it's just a bitch to disassemble something you had to first assemble together and then put it back into its original packaging and then also somehow transport it to the post office. So all of this is to say is that I am very jealous of anyone who lives in suburbia or has access to go to those like big furniture thrift warehouses, where you can like, you know, actually like test out the furniture and then just like put it into your car and go home with it. I feel like I've been somewhat neglectful of interior design for my whole life, except for this space. I honestly, I think I did pretty well in this space, but that's because I know that I have to record YouTube videos. And so I'm like, within this box, everything has to look good. But then the rest of my space, it's like, you know, it's the Wild West. And the reason is not because I don't love interior design. I do. It's because I've had to move apartments a lot because of landlord issues I'm not going to get into, and roommates shifting around. And again, New York City apartments are so small and weirdly configured. So even if you want to move the furniture that you had from a previous location, there's no guarantee that it's all going to fit into your new space. But I am trying to improve this part of my life because I definitely never want to be towing close the line of like teenage boy bedroom where they just have no furniture whatsoever and no decor whatsoever. So I've just been reading about it a lot more. And yeah, I would also love to know any of your personal tips and tricks to help a lady out. So yeah, in the comments, tell me your furniture woes or a piece of furniture you're really proud of getting and how you got it. For now, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Come to Gallery Furniture. Immediate delivery really well. Save you money.